Seely, how did you see God answering your prayers in a big way with one of your children?
Wow. Um, it's pretty amazing when when we pray, we kind of have an expectation of how that prayer is going to be answered. That's a silly thing because God has a totally different response typically, or he has in my case for sure. So let me just begin by saying, because infertility is a cross that I carried and I longed to be a mother of many children, my prayer was always that I would conceive or our doors would be open so that children would come. And Jesus brought children to us from in many different ways. I delivered one, then I have the next three are adopted, and then the last one came to us as a family member, but through a foster care situation that was very difficult. And this little guy coming to us at age 5 just came with a basket full of issues that he was going to be dragging around, especially this intense anger at the situation. He had been pulled from his family, he was pulled from his sisters, he didn't want any part of being at our household. He was angry. Was angry, and probably rightfully so. Things that you couldn't explain to a 5-year-old were happening to him, and it was not an easy situation, though we were delighted to have our doors open. It was not an easy situation to have him come into the family situation at that time. There were 4 other children there, and this definitely made for an imbalance. He upset the apple cart in a big, big way, and everything was an issue. So you can go into, okay, is he diagnosed, defiant? Is he bipolar? Is he blah, 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 blah? And yes, he's got all those kinds of things going on. The bottom line is, how is he going to adjust and be a part of our family and function in school and get along in the neighborhood and move forward, And a lot of that was a day-to-day battle. It was a real battle for us. And I kind of look at it now, and I looked at it then as well, as saying, wow, this cross is really, really, really heavy. I asked for children, but I really didn't I asked for the joy of raising children. And this has kind of become this major cross that's defining our whole family unit. But I think Jesus has been very clear on the fact that if we choose to be his disciples, we've got to pick up a cross and follow him. And not just any cross, but the cross that he has specifically prepared for us to help us gain eternal happiness. And whatever that cross is the one we probably don't want. For me, this was a much different cross, but embracing that, took on a whole different look. And so, I kind of would think about a lot with just Jesus taking his cross and giving us the example of how he's going to carry that up to Calvary and nail himself to it so that he could die for us, so that this could happen, that we could have eternal happiness. And looking at it and saying, okay, well, here we are at the beginning of the way of the cross, embracing this cross but not really wanting it, and knowing and trusting that while it's going to seem at times that it's too heavy, he's never going to abandon us in it. And so you kind of let's just talk a second about walking through or following behind him in that journey of the way to cross to Calvary. And it begins right at the very beginning. Station number 3, he's on his knees. He's fallen again for the first time. And I look back and just go, how many times with this cross was I flat on my face, saying, I have no idea how to get up. I can't do this. And you got to do something else about I can't do this. I can't. I want to love this child, but let me tell you, I'm struggling to love this child today. There is nothing lovable about him. And I can't find one thing nice to say about it today. I'm going to just really look today for one nice thing. And it got to where, like, before I could get out of bed in the morning, I'd say, you promised me, you promised me, you promised me that you were going to be there. And he has got to be yours, because I do not know how to love this child. I do not know what love looks like for this child today. Because let me say, by the end of first grade, we'd been through 3 different schools that year. Everything was major. It was major to say, go get your pajamas on, run upstairs and put on your pajamas and brush your teeth. That could be a blowout situation. And any time we were going any place or anyone else was entering our home, there would be a scene. Purposely on his part, there would be a scene. And so it was just wearing. It was very, very wearing. I was very blessed that I had a husband that was of like mind and heart with me. And so that was not a cross. That we were united in what to do and how to pray for him. But, you look back again and say, okay, let's follow Jesus on his path. He fell 3 times, showing us, you know what? Don't expect this to be easy. Don't expect that you're going to have your head up or even above water the whole time. It's not going to happen. And it certainly has not happened in our case. But in addition to that, there comes Simon, pulled out of the crowd to come and help carry. And yes, Jesus provided that for us. He sent us Simons. He sent us Veronicas to wipe our face when we thought we couldn't anymore. And with that, then see the face of Christ in that blessing of being comforted. He sent us the women of Jerusalem who were there weeping with us, our friends who were saying, what can I do? Or let me take him for the afternoon. Or Ann Truffin, who said, send that baby to me for a week up at camp. I was like, you're not going to do this. She said, just send him up to camp. And you come be a camp mom, but let's how can I help a little bit? And that's what Jesus continued to provide through the years with him. I mean, we reached a point, Lisa, where by the time he hit, let me just say the drastic difference. Sophomore year in high school, and yes, this child needed some medication, which he fought. He didn't want to take any medication. The older he got, the more difficult that became. Then it's the refusal. Then I'm not going to. Then he's bigger than we are. Then he's, then he's in depressions. Then he's manic. It's a kind of situation. But as the beginning of junior year, he's taking a medication. In that first 9 weeks, he's on the Honor Society. He's a straight A student. He's asked to be in the Honor Society. He's on the track team. He's been the captain. He's got a little after-school job. It's the first time ever he's got a little group of friends that want to come to our house that have invited him to go someplace. We're like, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. We hit Christmas and he says, I'm never taking that medicine again. Okay. By the 1st of March, he's out of school, expelled, 3 wrecks, lost his job, no friends. I mean, it's just this major spiral. And then I'm not going to school. You can't make me. He's 17 years old. And how are you going to even get him out of his bed is the point where we reached. The most difficult thing I think we ever had to do was the day, because he was really violent and threatening to me. And Dan, my husband, had seen it. Dan was like, that's it. He can't be here anymore. He can't be in our house right now. And we called Covenant House in New Orleans and put him in the car and brought him to New Orleans and dropped him off at Covenant House to be with the homeless teens. Gut-wrenching, absolute gut-wrenching to think that we were going to be placing him in that environment, purposefully placing him in, and he stayed in Covenant House for 18 months. That was a beginning of a change for him. Of course, we happen to know the director of Covenant House very, very well, so we were getting daily reports, and we were a lot behind the scenes. But Eric was not aware of that. He didn't know that was happening. But I will tell you what now, he's 25, if you can believe that, and he has come full circle. Praise God in this absolute miracle that He's working. He's delightful. He's can't wait to be around family. He's out of himself. He's checks in with us every 2 or 3 days, and the conversation is about how things going over there and what can I do to help you. Matter of fact, he stopped in. He's always got a little car issue, and he stopped in with something just this past week, and I turned around and he's cleaning my kitchen and washing some dishes and putting them in the dishwasher, and I turned to him and I said, I just love seeing you do that. Thank you so much for being so thoughtful. And he said, just think of all the years I wasn't. I said, no, I don't want to think about those years. But his response was, thank you for loving me when nobody else would. And I don't know that to be the case, but I know that he has reached a place where we see him very peaceful, and we see him very open to the workings of Christ. And it's a tremendous answer to a lot of prayers. But, I would just encourage anybody, because what my cross is won't be your cross. It's unfortunately our crosses are so tailor-made for us, and I'd probably much rather yours if we got to choose, but we don't. We don't get to choose. But what we are assured of is, even when it seems like it's way too heavy for us, Jesus isn't going to abandon us in that. And we have to just continue to trust that he said, come to me if you're weary. Come to me, and I'm the one that's going to bring you rest. And get behind me, and I'm going to show you how we do this, And don't forget, there's the station of the cross where he looks down, and when he looks up, he's gazing into the eyes of his mother. And I had to say over and over and over again to Our Lady, he needs a mother that I can't be. You took his mother away from him. He doesn't want me. He tells me that every day. He doesn't want me. He really needs you because you're beautiful and you're holy. You've got to do what I can't do for him. And so I just, encourage anybody in whatever their crosses are to look at it as a way of saying, this is a means for eternal salvation. If I get behind Jesus and allow him and trust him to guide me through it, but not to think that it's going to be easy, because it's not. And I think we just need to be on our knees and on our faces in prayer more than we're ever doing anything else.
How did you persevere in prayer when it looked like there was no end in sight?
Well, you're sweet to ask that. And I'm going to tell you, I certainly failed a lot of times, a lot of times. But I felt like nothing else was working. All I have is prayer. Most of the time, it was a very desperate feeling. And look, each of our other children, came to us at some point confidentially to say, how much longer does he have to stay here? He can't stay here. This isn't, why are you doing this? This doesn't work for our family. And, we don't throw people away, and we certainly don't throw family members away. And this is actually a family member that, Danny's brother, who was his father, had died. This child's mother was in trouble. He needed family. But, we look at the children sitting at our table, and each one of them born a different mother. And we just had to say, well, the Lord just took them from wherever they were and said, this is where they need to be. And all we could say is, well, they're here now. Now that you've got them here, you have to take care of this because it's way too big for us. And believe me, more days than ever, I felt like I'm in over my head. This is way too big for me. This is way too big. But it's not too big for Jesus.